Today we're going to be going over the essential rifle setup. With the way the world is and how hard the government is going after firearms, it makes it more of a reason that you should probably get a good firearm. So in this video, we're going to go over the essential rifle setup that you should get and go over all the details to try to help you make better purchase decisions, to be able to help you build that perfect setup. So this is the gun that I built specifically for me in this role. This has everything that I want as an essential rifle and all the things I find to be important. It helps that I was able to test a lot of products doing what I do here with the channel. I was able to find what I think are the best parts and put it all into one gun, and this is what I created. So we're gonna kind of go off of this a little bit, but with the essential rifle, it's not gonna be all of these things. I added a lot of stuff like a bad lever. I have a Geisley trigger. I have a Iron City rifle versus bolt carrier. So there's a couple things on here that I don't necessarily think are essential. This is just the gun that I built over the years in my mind and finally be able to put into an actual rifle. And this is what I came up with. So I'll have a couple different examples here on the whole displays that I'll pull off and I'll show you guys. But with the very first thing that we need to go over in this video is we are not going to say, okay, what gun you have to get. Okay, hey, for your essential rifle, it has to be a BCM or better. It has to be a Knight's Armament or a Mod 1 from Radian. I'm gonna say that the rifle itself is gonna be interchangeable. So that is gonna be a personal preference and completely up to you. So whether this be a $500 Palmetto State Armory build that you did or a $3,000 Radian Mod 1, the things that we're gonna talk about here are not going to change based off of what the platform you are putting this on. So you need to make that decision of what you can afford. And if you need guidance, I would gladly help you with that. The rifle itself, the base gun, like this right here, is gonna be completely interchangeable. In your head, as you're watching this video, as I'm going over all the different parts, think, okay, this is going on my gun, the gun that I want, the gun that I choose. So let me set this one down and grab a different rifle and one that I think is a really good setup, and that is my Cobalt Kinetics rifle. I think this rifle is a good example of showing the simplicity without going overboard and needing excessive parts that you don't need, but also having quality parts. So the things that I think are important on this rifle are the fact that it has a flashlight, an optic, and good iron sights. Those are my main things, the accessory-wise, that I think you should get for a good essential rifle, whether that be for civilian use or whatever you use in home defense, patrol. I think that those are your essentials when looking for your accessories. And the short answer, or my 30-second breakdown like I like to do, which I think we're in like minute 2 by now probably, sliding solution, your flashlight, and then your sling. I don't have slings on here because I don't put slings on the guns when they're on the racks because they just get in the way and they're really difficult. So I have those on the shelf, but I think those are the 3 most important things that you can get. And I think this rifle is a good representation of simplicity, but still having everything you absolutely need. Now, when you're talking about different optics, different sights, again, that is gonna be a personal preference on who you are and where you're at in your location. LPVOs are a fantastic option. I think it's cool to have that ability to be at a 1x. Obviously, it's gonna be a little bit slower, not as efficient as your red dot, but your red dot doesn't have the ability to zoom up to 8x like this does. And if you wanna leave it at a higher power and then have an offset, you can, or have a red dot on top, which is a pretty cool option. But the optic you choose is really gonna be based off of your area, your location, what you plan on doing with that rifle. Do you have a 16-inch that you wanna reach out to 500 yards comfortably? Maybe an LPVO is the way to go. Are you a little bit more in the city and you think maybe 200 yards is the max that you're gonna go? Maybe a red dot and even adding a magnifier to it is the way to go. So that's gonna be another personal preference. Again, I'm happy to help you with guidance on which products you should go with, but this is more or less going over the essential items that you should get to build out and kind of get you in the right direction for getting this rifle set up the way it should be. Now, I know people are still gonna argue and say you have to have a certain rifle, and we can go rounds and rounds on that all day. I have my personal preference of what I think you should get and what you don't think you should get. Next guy's gonna have his own personal preferences, and that's the thing that's cool about this is there's so many different options on the market. There's so many different price points, so if you have something that you personally like, then just buy that. It doesn't matter what the next person has unless it's constructive criticism that you're offering as opposed to just trying to dog them on the product that they're going with. So if you're trying to help somebody, absolutely, and guide them in the right direction is what we should be doing as a community, opposed to basically tearing people down when they're looking to try to get something or get into this community. So that's my my random side note. It's just something that kind of frustrates me sometimes, and I felt like there was a solid time to slip it in. But so the optic, obviously you're gonna rotate between different things. And there's so many different price points of optics and styles. So you have that optic, which is, you know, in the 1500s mark. You have your comp with a flip up sight from Unity Tactical. These ones are anywhere from 1500 to 2000, depending which combinations and mounts you're going with. Then you have a little bit more of a simple, cheaper option, but that's still a very solid optic, which is your primary arms 3 times with an offset optic, which is a sub $1,000 setup. So now more than ever, you have so many options to choose from to be able to get quality optic. Imagine 10 years from now when it was either the Trijicon ACOG at thousands of dollars or your Amazon special or like a Bushnell with your choices. Like nowadays, there's companies like Primary Arms, Vortex, HoloSun. Anything wrong with those companies? Absolutely not. Is there better options on the market? Yeah, I mean, if you spend $1,000, $2,000, you're gonna probably get higher quality stuff, and that's to be expected, but it's so cool that we have these other options now in the market to be able to really have variety and options for people with different price ranges. Other setup, which is a little bit farther down here, so be patient with me. Let me grab this one. This is a very comparable setup to this. Obviously, price-wise, they're very different in prices, but they do the exact same thing. They're both a red dot, they're both with a magnifier. They're both on a 16-inch style rifle. They're both very similar, but very different price tags, but they both have the essentials. They have a good sighting solution, they have a good flashlight, and then they both have good slings that would go along with them. So make sure that you're getting those essential items for your rifle, whatever that rifle may be. So then you get into talking about your size of the rifle, barrel length, caliber, and then different accessories like your stocks and grips, and there's just so many more things to think about. Let's try to knock out a couple of those. So your barrel length on an essential rifle, I would say your barrel length that you should go with would probably be a 16-inch. It's a very good do-it-all barrel length, whether that be a 13.7 pendant weld, a 14.5, or your 16-inch. I think anywhere in that, because this is a 13.7, my patrol rifle is a 14.5, and then the Zev that I showed you is a 16-inch. So they're all very similar in that length. They're all right there around that same area. But I would say that is your go-to. Currently, you don't have to worry about laws and everything with the ATF trying to make things SBRs and everything, because it is, like I said, currently an okay length, because they're ever-changing minds. Yeah, the 16-inch, ballistic-wise, distance, everything you can do with it, it's still small enough to be able to do CQB. So I think that 16-inch is kind of that perfect size to be able to do most things. Next thing you're gonna look for caliber. I think that the 5.56, 223, or 223 Wild are all good choices. It's all gonna shoot that same style ammo, and you're not gonna have to worry about getting more specialty ammo or more expensive ammo like 300 Blackout. I think that is a great option. If you've already got this rifle, then go with a 300 Blackout build. I think it has really good attributes and purposes, and build it specifically for what that caliber is meant for. The very specific caliber is made to do something that does it really well, but make sure you build the gun around that caliber. So I think 223, 5.56 is the way to go if you're just looking for that essential rifle. So now when you're talking about your stocks, your grips, your safety selectors, charging handles, bolt carriers, all the cool accessories, your grips, your rail covers, your IR devices, and all those things, I do not care about those things from the start. So before you freak out, they're all very important and they all play a really good role, and there's a reason to upgrade those things, and it's very important to do that later down the road. Just make sure you're doing the essentials first, have that rifle, and then you can make those upgrades. I have a lot of different stocks on all these different guns, and I couldn't tell you that any of them make me shoot any better. I can't say like, well, this stock right here is 10 times better because I paid $20 more or $100 more is better than this stock. You know, these Magpul CTR stocks are fairly inexpensive and probably one of the most popular because they're simple, they look nice, and they do what they're supposed to. So I really can't say that a stock is really that important. Now grips, a little more important because obviously you have grip angles and textures and designs, but don't get carried away too much with those things until you get the important stuff. Then you can mess on and getting your charging handles that are a little nicer, your bad levers, your Geisley triggers, your safety selectors that are 45 degrees, end up making things a lot nicer and maybe a little bit easier. Like the bad lever makes my reloads a little bit quicker, or like an ambidextrous lower makes things just a little bit easier to manipulate. But I don't think I would take away money from something like say my optic or my flashlight by adding those other things. So those are my thoughts on essential rifles, and if you go into it with that mindset, I think you're going to build a really nice rifle that is going to give you good success and you're not going to have a lot of problems with. Again, the rifle itself can be interchangeable. I would love to help you and guide you towards the right direction and how to spend your money in the best way possible so you don't waste any money, but I also understand that people have different budgets and obligations in life. So if you don't have children, your budget might be a lot wider. If you have multiple children, I have 3 kids myself, so I totally understand money just isn't as wimbly-bimbly as it used to be, to where you could just spend $3,000 and be like, cool, it's not that big of a deal. You know, now I have 3 babies to think of and my wife or my significant other, and you know, your money becomes a different priority at that point. So I get it. I still think having something like this is wildly important to protect your family and your significant other, and making sure they're protected. But I do understand life. It happens. I can remember going to school, working 3 different jobs, working every single day, and then having something happen with your vehicle, and then you have to put the money towards that. So I get it. I don't want to come off saying that you have to have these certain things. I don't want to push anything to people. I just want to make sure that you're spending your money in the right way, because what I don't want is you to be like, okay, well, I went ahead and cheaped out on all this stuff and now I have to replace it, and now you just ended up spending more money in the long run when you could have just bought the better stuff in the first place. So again, love to help out if I can. I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel. Go through my videos. You can see a ton of reviews on different parts to where I've tested things and tried to give as much insight as possible on products, and if they're good or not, if they're worth the money or not. And then I have other videos going over different parts and accessories you should buy and get and what's the most important. So people are in different financial situations, and I hate to see people tearing other people down in our community in that kind of situation. I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's cool. And I don't think you should do it. So uplift, be a positive light and a great guidance for other people, and constructive criticism is awesome. I still need it all the time. I still say or do silly stuff, and you guys help me out. So thank you for watching. A couple ways you can support me in the channel are down in the description. There are some discount codes from companies that I trust to help you buy some of these essential products, and there are some links to my link tree from there, like Palmetto, Brownells, Aero Precision, Premier Body Armor. Anything you purchase using those links does help out the channel, and I do appreciate that support. That is super helpful for the channel and the things I'm able to do on continued testing things. A couple of companies that support me are Howitzer, Brownells, and Hold Up Display. Howitzer is a clothing company that donates 5% of proceeds to charity, which is super cool, and they donated a ton of money, and they collaborated with me on these sweet shirts. So if you guys want to pick one up, link in the description. Brownells is an awesome company that helps me with all these builds and projects, and I could not do a lot of this without them. You can use code TA10 to save 10% on orders of $150 or more, and they have pretty much everything on their website. And then Hold Up Display, obviously the fantastic walls behind me of all these displayed guns is so cool, and I appreciate them for being a part of this channel and this vault room, which if you guys are interested in seeing that video, it's right here. But appreciate them for that. And of course, you guys, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much.